everybody, welcome to the Whitby Public Library's Book to Table series. Today we are going to be making some vegan snacks, so vegetarian based or plant based. We're going to do a couple of, maybe 3 different snacks today. So I'm hoping that these are easy enough for you to make, interesting and tasty. So I'm going to give them a shot and I'm going to try them out on my family and see how they work. So today's we are going to start with a potato crisp with a creamy dill dip. So we're going to start with our potatoes, and we're going to start with 2 potatoes, and we're going to get those cut. So you want to do about 1/8 of an inch size if you have a mandolin. If you don't have one, then just try to cut them as uniformly as you can, and then they'll just cut the bake evenly. Okay, now that we've got them all cut, we're going to put them into our bowl. And you can add some, you can use vegetable oil. I'm going to use this avocado, MCT, and chia oil. Just has a higher smoke point. So I'm going to use this, but you can use, the recipe actually calls for a vegetable oil. So you can just use vegetable oil as well. I'm just going to add a little salt, and I'm just going to mix that up. Okay, so now we're going to take our tray, baking tray, and we are going to put some parchment paper on it. I'm just going to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. And we're going to be doing for about 15 minutes. We do have to turn them over halfway. So I'm going to do them for about 10 and see how that goes. They're ready to put in the oven. I'm just waiting for it to preheat. Okay, so our oven is preheated, and so I'm going to do it for 20 minutes because they're a little bit thicker than I think I should have done them. So I'm going to do them for 10 minutes, set the timer, and then I'm going to flip them over. And I think I'm going to put some salt on them once I cook them for the first 10 minutes. So let's put those in at 350. Okay, so while we're waiting for the potatoes to be finished, we are going to move on to our sauce, which is the creamy dill dressing. So you're going to need tahini, which you can get in the grocery store. So I'm going to measure out 1/4 cup. So I'm going to be doing it in my Vitamix blender because I don't have the food processor, and I'm just going to mix it up in there. So 1/4 cup of tahini. You need 1/4 cup of water, just regular tap water. You need a teaspoon of vinegar. You can use white wine vinegar, regular white, it says balsamic. I'm just going to use the regular white vinegar. And you'll need some lemon juice. Again, just another teaspoon of that. And then you're going to need about 1/4 cup of the dill, fresh dill. So I'm just going to pull that off. Okay, so I'm going to throw in about a quarter cup of the dill. And I need to have some salt and pepper to taste, so I'm just going to grind some pepper in there. And grind some salt in there. And then we're going to get ready to put that on the Vitamix. Okay, so here's my dill dip. I mixed it up in the Vitamix. I added quite a bit more of the dill just because I tasted it and I wanted a little bit stronger dill taste to it. So just make it to your own taste. Start out with a quarter cup and add as necessary. Okay, our 10 minutes is up, so we are just going to flip those over. And I'm going to put these back in for 10 more minutes. Okay, so I've got my racks. I'm just going to place them on there. Just let those get nice and crispy. So they're all done and they're ready to serve up with the dip. It's a nice alternative to those dill pickled chips that you might be eating. A little healthier choice, but still a nice snack. Very Canadian to have a dill pickle chip. And there you go. So let's get started with our next snack. The next snack I'm going to be using chickpeas, and we're going to roast them today. I know you can buy them already roasted in a pack, but you never know what's in them. And I think it's always cheaper just to buy your cans when they're on sale and make them at home. You can flavor them however you like. The recipe I have today is just using some chili powder, some thyme, some salt, and we're going to coat them in olive oil. So I'm going to open the can and I'm going to drain them out. So I'll get started with that and then we'll get them baked and see how they taste. Okay, so I have drained and rinsed the chickpeas. So now I'm just going to put them right on my cookie sheet. I'm just going to spread them around. And I have to bake these at 375 for 30 minutes. Okay, so our chickpeas are roasted. And now we're going to put them into our bowl and we're going to mix them in with the olive oil and the spices. I'm going to put this aside because we are going to use the pan again. So now we're going to add in our olive oil. So we're going to use a tablespoon of olive oil. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt measured out here. A 1/2 teaspoon of thyme. And a 1/2 teaspoon of some chili powder. We're going to mix that all in. Coat the chickpeas. going to put these back in the oven. We're going to bake them for another 10 to 15 minutes at the same 375. So I'm just going to bring the pan back over. And we're going to put those back in for 15 minutes. Okay, so the chickpeas are all done. They're a little bit too hot to taste right now, but I'm going to let them cool for a little bit. And then we'll give them a taste. And there you go, we're all done with the chickpeas. Nice and crunchy, high in fiber and high in protein. Great snack. Okay, for our last plant-based snack today, we are going to try our buffalo-style cauliflower wings. So we are going to, I've already washed my head of cauliflower, and we are going to give that, we're going to cut that in half, and we're going to season these up and bake them. We're just going to cut it in half, and then we're going to cut off the florets. That's the only part we're going to be using today. We'll just break them into bite-sized pieces. Okay, so we cut those into bite-sized pieces that we're going to be baking up, and then you can have these as a great finger food snack. So we're going to make the batter. So you're just going to take a glass bowl. Because this is plant-based, we're going to use all plant-based ingredients. So I'm going to be using the almond milk. So you need a half a cup of the almond milk. You're going to need 3/4 of a cup of flour. I just have the all-purpose with me today, but if you are gluten-free, you could use rice flour or almond flour. Either one should work. And we're going to add some spices. So I've got some chopped onion, a teaspoon of onion. I have my garlic powder, so a teaspoon of the garlic powder. And paprika, 1 teaspoon of paprika. And I'm going to put cumin in there, so 1 teaspoon of cumin. And then you're just going to add some black pepper to taste, about 1/4 of a teaspoon or so. And I'm just going to whisk that up. Got my 3/4 of a cup of water. Okay, so the sauce is nicely mixed, and now we are going to coat the cauliflower. So I'm just going to take my pieces of cauliflower and I'm just going to put them right in. Oh, that one's a little bit too big. And I'm going to put them right in the sauce. Make sure they're nicely coated. Okay, so I have my tray ready with parchment paper. You are supposed to cook these at 450, but there is, the parchment paper does have a degree that it's allowed to be safely used at, and mine is 425. So I'm going to keep my temperature at 425 today, because I don't want to go over top of what the recommendation is for the paper itself. So once your pieces are covered, you're just going to place them on your tray. Just tap off some of the extra. Once your cauliflower is all coated, we're going to put that on for, it has to be cooked for 20 minutes, but you have to turn it halfway. So I'm going to put it on for 10, set the timer, flip it, and then put it back on for 10. So at 425, I'm going to put them in for 10 minutes. Okay, so they've baked for 10 minutes. That's what they look like, and we're going to turn them over, and we have to put them back on for another 10 minutes. Okay, I flipped them all, so we're going to put them back in for 10 more minutes. Okay, so the recipe calls for now putting on some of the hot sauce and then putting them back in for 20 minutes. So I am going to put the hot sauce on half of them, and then I'm going to leave the other half. Turn it back over into the tops. Okay, so I'm going to put those back in. I have covered some of them with the sauce, and the rest will just dip in the sauce. I'm going to see if that helps to keep the one side crispy and the other ones maybe not as crispy. So we'll put that back in for 20 minutes. Okay, so they're all done cooking, baking, and we're just going to get these on the plate, get them ready to serve with some sauce. Well, that wraps up this week's Book to Table series. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out our inventory. We have lots of books on vegetarian, vegan, and plant-based eating. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Don't forget to click the button to subscribe, and every time we have a YouTube video uploaded, you'll get a notification. Until then, we'll see you next time on From Book to Table.